What's up guys, it's me, Janne here, and somewhere around 6-7 months ago or something like that, somewhere in the beginning of 2017, I made a video about 5 reasons why WRC6 is hard to enjoy, and that's linked into the description. And now today I'm comparing if WRC7 has fixed those issues, and if WRC7 is actually more enjoyable than WRC6, and if you should get it or not, and what kind of people should enjoy it, and so on. So let's start with the video. In the video where I listed the 5 reasons why WRC6 is difficult to enjoy, I had listed poor force feedback, bad in-car cameras, uninformative setup menus, unreliable co-driver, and corner cutting / stage design as the reasons why the game is really hard to enjoy. And let's start with the first topic on the list, which is poor force feedback. And I feel that it has slightly improved this year, but not much. It's still rather uninformative, and I think that is one of the weak points of the game. But yeah, luckily there aren't that many other weak points in the game, so that's good. And the second point in the game last year was bad in-car cameras. Mainly the problem was that the cameras were too high on some cars. And that's why it was unplayable on that car, because that sunblock tape on the top of the windshield was really low there because of the high camera, and it was blocking the view like 90% of the time. So that's why it was bad. But now all the cars have proper in-car cameras. There are 5 different settings that you can choose. For the camera setting, you can be as close as possible to the windshield, or then you can be a bit more further back, and I think this is like the second closest or the closest. I'm not absolutely certain, but in this one you don't see that much of the driver or the wheel, just tiny glimpse in the bottom every once in a while, and depending on the car, some cars you don't see it at all. So in that order, I think this game has improved really much. And third point was the uninformative setup menus, and still there could be some better descriptions about why, for example, loosening the shock absorber rebound makes the car behave the way it does. It's just like looser makes it more stable, and tighter makes it more, less stable or something like that. It's really uninformative still, but it has been made better as well. It's not as game breaking as it was before, since now you can actually see some values that change when you slide the sliders in there in the setup menu, so it's a lot easier to share some setups and all that in this game. So I think that has been improved as well. And the fourth point was unreliable co-driver in the game in WRC6, which meant that the notes were somewhat wrong, and almost all the time way too early or way too late. And also the notes were complete shit, like you couldn't cut on the corners where he said cut, and vice versa. And this time it has been fixed, in my opinion. I think I've played this game for like 15 hours or 16 hours already, and I can still count with fingers in one hand that how many times I've had a late note. So I think that's a huge improvement. And yeah, so it has been improved a lot. It's still, the sound of the co-driver is rather robotic, but I'd rather take a robotic accurate co-driver instead of a Nicky Christ who is completely out of the world and just doesn't know at all what he says. And the last point on the video of why WRC6 is hard to enjoy, it was corner cutting / stage design. And that meant that there were so many corners where the insides were completely empty. So basically it was tempting you to cut the corner, obviously, since you want to go as fast as possible. But when you cut it, then the game respawned you back into the track and you got some sort of time penalty for leaving the stage and all that. So it was rather sucky. You had to actually learn each corner individually where you could cut or not. So it rewarded those people who actually have the time to learn the stages by heart, which is, I think, a bit silly. And this year the stage design has been a lot better in that regard. Every time when I've been given the note to cut, I've been able to do so without any time penalties or something like that. So they have really improved the stage design in that degree. So those are the things which made WRC 6 bad, and 4 out of 5 fixed, so that's good. So compared to WRC 6 in that matter, this is really a success. And in this game, the career mode is more or less the same. You start with junior WRC and then you move up to WRC 2 if you can fulfill the target conditions from the team, and if you can fulfill them again, then you will move up to WRC, the main class, and you will race there. So yeah, it's a really good solid career mode, and I don't find anything at fault with that. And also the stage design has been improved otherwise, and not just for the corner cutting. The stages are really narrow and challenging this time around, which makes them a lot more easier to enjoy, since there's actually some challenge and they are not some highway stages straight out to Need for Speed. So it's really an improvement on that matter as well. And also there's cars from the 2016 season, the WRC cars, the Volkswagen Polo, Citroën DS3, Hyundai i20 and the Ford Fiesta, which is also a nice addition, since you can compare the performance difference between this year's and last year's cars after the rule change and all that. So I agree with that as well. And also in this game the lighting has been improved a lot, since in WRC 6 anytime you had a night stage or you were in the woods, you couldn't see almost anything. It was way too dark for you to see, and it slowed you down, but it didn't slow AI down, so it was almost impossible to race against them, and then you had to adjust your TV or your monitor in order to get some visibility on the stages. And this time around the lighting is a lot better. You can actually see something in the shadows, and that's something that I really enjoy, since it was a rather big problem, at least for me and probably for some of you as well in the last game, but now that has been improved here as well. So good job on that regard by Kiloton. If there's something I really need to complain about this game, is probably the fact that the force feedback is still rather shit, to be honest. You get used to it, but it could be a lot better as well. So that's the thing that they really need to improve on for the next game. And other points of improvements for next edition in the WRC franchise, in my opinion, are that you should be able to disable the driver and the wheel in the cockpit, since that can be distractive to some, and some people enjoy it when there's nothing else and they can line up their field of view to the real life field of view with their steering wheel and all that. So that could be done differently in the next game. And then also you should be able to select if you want the camera movement or not, since it can be quite distracting as well if the camera moves around like a drunk man walking down the street. So it should be possible to turn that off, so you could have like a solid view that you could trust somewhat a bit more. And then another thing I'd like to see improved in WRC 8, which hopefully is coming next year, is that there should be split class leaderboards, meaning that each class would have their own leaderboard for each stage, and that shouldn't be too much to ask. I don't think that it would be that difficult to create, since now if you drive a really good time on a WRC2 car, but just by a tiny bit improve your time on a WRC car, then you have your not that good WRC time on the leaderboards instead of the WRC2 time, meaning that basically if you play long enough you can't compare your times with other people's times, especially with the slower cars, which are the key points for some of us to enjoy usually in rally games. For example, I like front wheel drive cars a lot. I like to drive them in this game as well, and also would be nice to be able to compare people's time with the Porsche 911, since that's a completely different thing to drive compared to the four-wheel drive WRC cars. But after all, these things that I think need improvement in the game are rather marginal apart from the force feedback, so I think that tells a lot on how good this game is now, and obviously more stages as well, since there could be a lot more stages. But yeah, I don't know if there's some hardware limitations or something with that, but yeah, the game is really solid as a whole package, and a great improvement in comparison to WRC6, and I haven't regretted buying the game at all. And if you just feel like Dirt 4 and Dirt Rally aren't offering you enough content, then I'd most definitely recommend this game for you. And also if you like rallying in general and are a rally fan, and you are not that absolute certain about requiring the most closest simulation from a rally game, then I'd recommend this to you as well. And obviously if you like WRC6, this game is clearly meant for you. It's an improvement on almost all the parts of the game. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions about the game, please ask them below and I'll try to answer them within my abilities. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Check out my Instagram at Janne Lahanen and subscribe, like, share, you know the deal. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys whenever I'll be streaming again. Bye bye.